I'm taking a different approach to the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Seeing that they all arrived at the same time, a blink of an eye. Now, that sounds silly from our point of view, because historically, the time between the discovery of Uranus and the discovery of Pluto represented such a very long period of time that we could hardly say they were simultaneous discoveries. But from a different perspective, if we look at time differently, considering how long our species has been aware of the number 7, there was a time before which we could not count, and then we learned how to count, let's say arbitrarily 300,000, 200,000 years ago, whatever. Somebody learned about the number 7 and they saw it in the sky. Planets, moon and sun, totaling 7 moving bodies. Let's say 300,000 years ago. In the following millennium, nothing changed. And the following one, and the following one. 200 or 300 millennia, nothing changed. And then all of a sudden, within less than 500 years, we have 3 more planets to consider in our cosmology. Now, half a millennium is a blink of an eye within the context of 200 or 300 millennia. So I'm saying that the outer 3 planets arrived in consciousness simultaneously, from one perspective. That being the case, then their collective meaning has an important aspect of our understanding. Their individual meanings we know quite well. Uranus tends to be best summarized by the word freedom, Neptune by the word imagination or creativity, and Pluto, evolution, works well for me. And I've checked this out, and it seems to be an acceptable triplicity of core meanings for those 3 planets. I've also looked at the midpoint of the 3 planets to come up with the idea of the Trinity point. And this Trinity point represents the place at which Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are jointly active equally. And so I've been studying the position of the Trinity point as it moves. And this gives us a very much deeper sense of rhythm and cycles. We're studying where we are in human history. And as long as we remember that, then we can give meaning to the Trinity point. And I would suggest that the Age of Enlightenment, which began with the discovery of Uranus, led to science, led to a much more sort of mental approach to religion rather than the emotional, felt sense of what was going on previously. We started to wonder why things are the way they are. What is the meaning of this, that, and the other? What's the meaning of life? Uranus started that off. Neptune introduced the idea that we could control the mind. We can change how we think, how we perceive. We can change not only using imagination, therefore creating in our minds what is the case. The case is what we perceive. We can change that. And anesthetics were introduced with Neptune. That changes what your mind is doing so you don't feel pain. And religious ideals started to take a much more balanced kind of sense of reality on the mundane level, together with spiritual principles on the higher level. We started to think much more intelligently and in an adult way about the spiritual principles with Neptune. Pluto was discovered and gave us the power to self-annihilate, which we've taken on board, and now the countries that have got nuclear bombs are capable of generally turning our species into another extinct species. This has happened. So if we look at where the Trinity point is, we get a sense of how we can balance our spiritual nature with our worldly nature, which is in fact, of course, the highest teaching. We're not supposed to be spiritual beings alone. We're supposed to be physical beings with a spiritual consciousness in balance. And if we were not supposed to be physical beings, we wouldn't incarnate. What's the point? How could? No point. So we incarnate to have a body. And yet the awareness of where we came from, the source, what you might call God, or whatever else you give to the idea of the meaning of life, that is why we came. So that we came, and what we're doing about that, how we're coping with physicality on the one hand, is balanced with why. Why did we come? What's the meaning of it all? What's the meaning of life? And this is much more profoundly and much more subtly dealt with when we look at the Trinity point. So the midpoint of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto is the Trinity point. And there are calculations on my website if you want to do that. Now, right now, the Trinity point is at 26 degrees of Pisces. Sorry, I said 26. I mean 28 degrees of Pisces. The 28th degree of Pisces is the Trinity point, which happens to be exactly where Neptune is. That doesn't happen very often. So we've got Neptune aligning with the Trinity point, which gives us a real sense of the meaning of what's going on right now in the news, for example, on the world news kind of level. What is going on right now? And I'm not talking about the detail, the pettifogging detail of who gets elected and so on. That may or may not be significant at different times, but there's an overarching sense of something's going on. I mean, if you don't feel that yet, then you're not listening to me on this website. That's not of interest to you. Those people that are interested in this question, we know something is going on, by which I mean it's a big deal taking place. We're shifting from one way of being as human beings to another. We're going through a revolutionary shift in consciousness of what it means to be a human being. We're awakening to the next level. And when the Trinity point, as it is today, is in the 28th degree of Pisces, we start to get a clue as to what lesson we're learning in order to facilitate this journey from where we were in consciousness to where we're going. And it happens, as I've said, to align with Neptune. So Neptune is at the Trinity point. Therefore, Neptune, our imagination, our creativity, is very closely aligned at the moment with what we need to understand to get it right, to shift into a new way of being. And I find this very interesting, this particular Sabian degree. 28 degrees of Pisces. A fertile garden under the full moon. Enough is a feast. I don't really need to say any more. Enough is a feast. I mean, I'll read out the detail in a minute, but just stay there. Our species seems very greedy. We keep on wanting things, and when we've got lots of things, we want better ones and more of them, and we throw them away before they're broken, and we waste huge amounts of food. And in the West, I mean, there are plenty of countries that could do with a bit of more food, and in the West, we throw away 40% of our food. And the manufacturing process that gives rise to all these things that pretty soon we throw away has changed geopolitics. China has become rich on that, and China is now rich enough to threaten what was the only superpower, America. Now, America is not the only superpower, and that's because we are greedy, because we buy things and China has made them. China is now capable of taking America out if it wants to. Maybe. Nobody's really sure. Sufism teaches of 7 planes of existence, each with its special mystery. And the mystery of the earth plane is abundance. The self-denial within asceticism may well be an important stage by which we learn to let go of need, but a more advanced level of development is typified by having no embarrassment about desire and fulfillment. It takes mastery to cope with both sides of the challenges of physical life. The first test is to determine whether we can create plenty. The next is to learn that the feeling of abundance is not supported by greed. Enough is a feast. So the first test is to determine whether we can create plenty. We need to remember that too, that the earth plane is hard, it's harsh even. A lot of people don't work it out. Their governments don't work it out, they don't work it out, and they don't have what they need. They certainly don't have abundance. Very few people actually feel that they have abundance. Those of us who have somewhere nice to live, good food, security around money, freedom from the fear of violence, then we've reached where we need to be to consider ourselves masters of the earth plane. You might feel you could do with a bit more mastery, but if you've got those things, if you're comfortable and doing all right, then you're celebrating abundance, and that's the spiritual challenge to develop mastery of abundance. Stage one. However, stage two is to make sure that we don't allow that enjoyment of abundance to slip into greed, which very few of us have managed to avoid. I think all of us take one more biscuit than we need sometimes. And even going further than that, we habituate ourselves to over satisfying our enjoyment of abundance. That means we haven't learned abundance. Any temptation can be enjoyed until such time as it becomes a habit. And then when it starts pulling your strings, instead of you pulling its strings, you're caught up. You've lost your freedom. You've lost 1/3, therefore, of your spiritual balance. Because without freedom, you're not in balance. And so we don't evolve then. And this is what's happening to our species. We've got too greedy. We've used up too many resources. We've created climate change. We've done all sorts of things to prove that we haven't mastered abundance. Now, on a personal level, we have to do that, or the body becomes the indicator of greed. Certainly the mind does, if you can study that. And I think when Neptune is in this degree today, and it doesn't stay there very much longer, but the Trinity point in this degree today, and it does stay here quite a few weeks longer, we can just check out whether or not we are reasonably well balanced in our spiritual nature by enjoying what there is to enjoy without guilt. However, not taking that to the level of greed and habit. That's the mystery today. And why does this associate itself with Neptune? Well, because Neptune really gives us the story, the narrative by which we live. We have to make up a narrative. We have to work out the explanation of what's going on, because there's too many data points to assimilate. There's a million bits of data entering our brain at any point in time. So we have to fill in the gaps between the ones that we focus on. And that is the job of Neptune. And that is done through imagination and creativity. So our species right now is creating a model for how to be. And all of the conversations and the meetings and various podcasts and so on that are given out are all trying to give us a chance to come to an understanding of what we're doing. And actually, really, we have to change that. We're not doing it right. We need to understand what we're not doing right. And if we just simply say we need to measure abundance with a certain amount of self-discipline so that we don't move that into greed, if we just dealt with that and nothing else, much would be saved. We would be in a much better state indeed. And I think until we understand that, what fundamental problem have we got that we need to address, then dealing with war or climate change or immigration problems or anything, it's all scratching the itch, but it's not dealing with that which gave rise to the itch. There's something deeply wrong within the human psyche that we need to fix, because the symptoms of that wrongness are now an existential threat. So what is fundamentally wrong with our species? Some might say fear, some might say greed, but they're the same thing. We tend to become greedy because we have known neediness. If you always have what you want whenever it's there, there's no need to take any for a rainy day. But we do, we put money away for a rainy day. And that's a part of the problem as well. If we all shared what there is with anyone who's there and looking for it, if we shared, then we wouldn't have this problem. So that's what's going on right now in terms of the Trinity point. We're brought to the awareness that we take too much, and that's a problem that threatens the species. So there you go, Trinity point, 28 degrees of Pisces.